Welcome
back
to
the
Janchi
Show. This is good. That's a good
That
way
was
of
good.
doing that, right?
We did a great one last
Also,
time.
Janchi is one word.
I know, that's why I was confused on why he did it halfway and I continued. I'm like, wait, that's
I was doing
right.
syllables. I was going by syllables.
No. Nice.
Oh no.
You're listening to the Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean, American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Welcome back to the Janchi Show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We are back, as you all saw in our last episode. We are the Janchi Show, 3 Korean Americans. I am Nathan, one of your co-hosts, along with Patrick and KJ. I haven't actually done an intro, I feel, for a while.
I know you forgot to tell them we're adopted.
I did. No, it says that in the intro audio. I think people know that.
Actually, you're right. That is true. I don't know. I shouldn't have called you out on that.
That's really funny.
I mean, come on. This
None of
is
us listen to the
episode
intro
93. People have been around. I'm sure there may be a few
We have
few new listeners
coming in.
Yeah, welcome.
don't know that.
Welcome.
I actually
This
haven't
is-
looked
this is
in
standard.
a long time.
This is
our
standard.
Yeah,
This is
our
our
bumbling
standard
around
rambling
is
intro.
standard MO. Yeah.
I mean, people
We
like
don't
it.
know what we're doing.
People
Yeah.
laugh, and then
We
they
are
post our
professionals.
episode art and
Don't
put
worry.
laughing stickers on it.
Yeah.
Because it's so dang funny.
All right. Nathan,
Patrick.
what does Janchi mean?
I was going to ask you. Janchi, well, we take it as a feast or celebrate, and we are feasting and celebrating our Korean adoption heritage.
We
and
feast in
culture.
that
We
heritage.
feast it. We feast in it and celebrate it too.
I do
but we
feast on
feast
it.
with our snacks. So at the end of the show, sometimes we have snacks or drink, if time permitting, and
Also,
snacks
like,
permitting. If
yeah,
KJ
snacks
hasn't
permitting.
lost his box of snacks,
It's fine.
That is
Too many
canon on the
boxes
show
to go
now.
through.
yeah. But yeah,
I do regularly lose snacks. I don't know how that happens. I'm just like, do we have this? I don't know what happened to our foods anymore.
okay. Patrick regularly eats them before the show starts.
That's
Oh, yeah,
what
that's
happened
true.
just 4 or 5, 60 times.
100 times.
It's okay.
4 or 5, 16,000 times.
And I am constantly shooing my kids away from my snacks. So that
Last week they were doing a little strobe light show in your room.
Oh, that's right. Too.
That was fun.
Oh,
I
yeah,
had
you
to
got very
address that
angry.
one. Make sure I'm you. Yes, I made sure they knew I was recording today. So hopefully that will not happen again.
Well, if it does, you know what that means.
Yeah. So
Just
how's it
wait
feel?
longer.
Here.
We're back. I mean, we had our last episode. And now we're back here in July. You guys, how you feeling? Are you excited about the upcoming year? We got lots going
Yeah,
on. I
what?
mean, you guys have new jobs. We were just talking about that. You have new
Are you
jobs.
excited about the
I
upcoming
guess that was
year?
very exciting. You
I
sounded
was like,
so
is it
excited.
January?
It is July. Did that last episode? That came out on the 30th. So
Yeah.
it is a new month now. Good call.
Oh,
Good call.
it is. All right. Happy July, everyone.
Happy July. Nothing horrible happened over the first weekend of July
No. Yeah,
that we need
yeah.
to talk about.
Nothing horrible.
Um,
It's not.
I'm doing good. To answer your question, I do feel like I have a lot to look forward to in the rest of this year. So I'm excited about a lot of different things.
yeah, you got like a bunch of travel coming up, right?
I know I
Yeah.
just went over it with you guys, and I feel like I was like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. But that's
That's
the
fair.
content of the show.
No,
will talk
I mean
about
we're
it.
gonna talk about it eventually.
Sure.
We will.
Like,
It's
we
gonna
could have
talk
just
about
said like we've got a bunch of travel plans coming up.
Lots of travel plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
you're
just
turning into
made
the
some
new
travel
Jerry.
plans.
You're the Jerry. You're now in the new Jerry.
I'm the new
you're
Jerry.
Mini Jerry.
I'm the
Jerry
NJW, the new Jerry one.
We talked about a live show, so that's exciting. Be on the lookout for more news about that. It will be more lead time than last year, but also still not a lot of lead time. Apparently, last year we were like, we're doing a live show. It's in a month. Figure out how to get there.
Did we really announce that 1 month out?
Yeah, because Nick messaged me and was like, "Hey, you guys getting together?" I was like, "I don't know. We don't have our crap together." He's like, "Well, you threw it together last time, so just let me know." So I think our listeners are like ready for our incompetence, and they're just like,
We
"I
suck.
don't know. We'll just figure out how to do it." So we're trying to be a little more ahead of the game, and also still feel very behind the game. So
We did
But
have a
we're
productive
we're
meeting though
planning
about
on it.
that. So I think
Yes.
it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
we're planning
I'm
on it.
looking
We're
forward
praying
to it.
about it. It's nothing is set in stone.
No.
So if you get your hopes up, just prepare for them to also be dashed unless they come true.
Yeah. If you don't hear about it in the next 14 days, just wait longer.
Or it's happening.
Maybe we'll
At a
just
totally
keep pushing
different
it
time.
back. Maybe it'll be a holiday special. You never know.
Maybe
Yeah.
this will be the recurring bit where we say we're doing a live show, but we just never do a live show.
And then we do the next one in 10 years for our 10-year anniversary.
Amazing. It'll be
But it's
episode
only our
10,000.
second one. So
Yes.
love it. That would be episode 1000. If we got
I
to
said
episode
10,000.
1000,
The math checks out.
Oh my gosh.
great.
I mean, come on, we're 7 episodes. Sorry, 93. We're 7 episodes away. I can math. 100 episodes. We got to do something for that.
Probably
if not like a-
not.
No.
Oh wait,
Probably
maybe
the
that would
live
be
show.
Do
when
like a
we're thinking
Facebook
about
Live or
doing the
something.
live show.
I mean,
See, now we giving
yeah.
people clues.
Uh-oh.
That might
Even though
actually
we don't
be-
know for sure that
7
will line
episodes
up.
from
Yeah.
now.
None of us are sitting here doing the math, but
Not
it
exactly.
might math out.
Close.
I don't know.
It could math out. Very, very true. Honestly, I'm
Or
thinking
maybe
about it.
we'll-
It might. It honestly
Maybe
might.
we'll change our plans to make it math out. I don't know. Whatever.
Or we'll just number the episodes just the
skip a
same
couple.
for 3
yeah,
episodes.
we'll do like
We're just going to skip a week so that it feels
94A, 94B.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so Patrick, you dropped this on us right before we started recording. You are headed overseas in October.
Ooh, do
And I
tell.
want to hear more about that decision, what that trip is, all the thoughts and the feels that went into it. So
For sure.
tell the listeners what's
For
happening.
Going back to
For
Greece.
Sure. So
It's like, you know what? I went to that one bar and they were like, hey, I want to hang out with you during NBA season. So
I bet if I went back there, I'd be like, "Who are you?"
how many
Damn
Koreans
it.
do you think they see that often?
That's a great question. Actually, there was a ton. There were a decent amount of like East Asian folks that were traveling through. Honestly, I saw
Okay.
some South Asian folks as well.
All right.
Anyways, that has nothing to do with this. In October, I am going to Korea. My lovely wife Emily is going to be accompanying me, and we are going on the OKF trip. So that's the Overseas Korea Foundation, and I believe it is fully sponsored through the Korean government. So make of that what you will. But long story short, Jerry had sent us a message and said, "Hey, y'all should apply for this trip." For various reasons, we either did or did not. I was very much on the fence. At first, I was adamant that I wasn't going to go on this trip because I didn't think that I wanted my first experience of Korea to be through the Korean government. Though there was a weird, unsettling irony about that. But after a few weeks of thinking about it, probably honestly right up to the deadline, I decided that, yes, I would fill the application out. So fill the application out, had multiple email exchanges because there was just one piece of information I forgot and one other piece of information that I needed and one other piece of information I needed. And so did that a bunch. And then the other day, I found out that we got accepted. So very excited. Pew, 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 pew.
I can't control the soundboard, so I brought my own soundboard.
And I'm talking, and I don't know how to control it and talk at the
That's
same
fine.
time. I can only do one thing. So that's happening. I'm very
Nice.
excited about it. I will say, yeah, I'm very excited about it. And honestly, maybe mixed feelings. Just because I do still feel similarly about this being my first trip back to Korea and it not being something that I'm really getting to own. It does feel like I'm going as part of something else. But I'm grateful to be able to go, not necessarily to the Korean government specifically or to anyone, but just the fact that I'm going to be able to go back and get to do that with Emily is exciting for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. It is. I hear your hesitation and I almost applied. I actually had the website bookmarked. I had everything looked up and it just was going to be too tough on our schedules and my family schedules and stuff. So that's why I decided not to apply. But I thought about it and I was like, I think it would be good if one of us went, or just the fact that, you went too, Patrick.
You're
because
just sending Robin. You're like, Robin,
Yeah.
go for us. Represent the Noah clan.
you guys, not my family.
Oh,
but
I see.
Just
because
say
I've-
you
I've
want me to
been-
take the stickers.
Yeah, yes, please take some stickers when you go. No,
Everyone there will be like, what?
who are you? Yeah.
Why?
But the opportunity to look around, to explore Korea, and I don't even know what the schedule's like, compared to when I went. I would feel conflicted on how much time I was spending at the events for OKF and how much my own, my family would be wanting to spend with me or see me and things like that too. And if I was there for 5 days, then I'd probably have to stay longer to see them afterwards. And it just was getting complicated. So I think for you to go with this group, I think is going to be good. But at the same time, I think it would be awesome if all of us went someday together.
Well, since you both have already been, I had to get one in before you both had went back twice.
Before we do
I
our
had been
official
back
Janchi
zero.
Con.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
I think my biggest hesitation with going through this trip specifically is the fact that I don't know how much ownership I'm going to have over my own story. So, like, if things happen while I'm on this trip that, a random reunion or I just have some visceral emotional reaction to what's going on or anything like that, I don't know, and it's captured on camera, on film, on in pictures. I don't know what of that I'm going to be able to release on my own time, and I don't like that feeling. And when you filled out the application, that's one of the waivers you got to sign. It's like, hey, stuff's going to get filmed, and the things that happen here is now the Korean government's content. So I could end up on the Korean government's Instagram or something, and all of that. That was, I don't know if they even have an Instagram. I was just making a generality.
Okay, wait. So, are in the trip is like a birth search thing included in that?
I don't know specifically.
Didn't think that this was for adoptees specifically, right? It's just
so
for
it
overseas
is
Koreans,
for
right?
adoptees. They do two. They do two.
Okay.
One that's adoptee specific, which is this one, and then I think they do another one, which is just broadly Korean American or Koreans that live overseas, essentially.
So separate but equal.
Separate but equal.
It's fine.
And
it's
only
not
150 of you at a time.
Yeah, it's fine. No, okay. So yeah, that definitely, I understand your hesitance, and also when. Not that it's the same because it wasn't like the government, but when I went with my adoption agency, my return to I don't remember if they call it motherland or fatherland, but whatever, return to our homeland. It was like, I was a lot younger. So I think
Right.
I wasn't as aware of who I was. But it's like, it's a nice way to just experience all of the big touristy bits of Korea. And like, that they'll like put on like their prettiest face and like show you the sights and take care of you and do those things. And personally, I think that's a really nice way to experience a country. And then when you go back to a country or wherever, like regional area that's different from your particular regional area that you know and love, then you can like spend time getting in like the nitty gritty and like getting into like the back alleys and like really like walking the streets and like knowing the people and like not having to deal with all the fanfare. Like I love going on tours of cities, and then also I'm just like, I just want to like ride the bus and see like what that's like. You know what I mean? So I think it's like, in some ways it's nice because you don't have to do all of the pre-research about like what are the things to see in Korea. Like they got all that covered for you and that kind of stuff. So that when you go back, you can choose. Legitimately choose your own adventure, but maybe like you don't have the same pressure of like, oh, I want to like see XYZ things. I didn't get to do that last time. It's like, oh, I really like this. I'd like to go back to this area again, or like I want to do something entirely different. So I think overall I'm excited for you, and I hear that hesitancy. Yeah, because there's just a lot of baggage and like PR associated with being an adoptee in Korea. So
I struggled with like getting the language and getting, translation of things, whereas you might not have as much of that because most likely there'll be a translator there or most of it will be in English. But the one thing is it's 150 adoptees from all over the world, right? So it's not just from the US. I'm curious to see, who you'll meet from, other countries
the
that
Netherlands
are also,
or Sweden.
Netherlands,
Wait, is that where it is?
South America. I don't know. So I think that'll be really cool too.
It's funny to your point, KJ, about having it be a guided trip and being able to explore that way without the legwork of setting everything up. It's funny because after we went to Greece, Emily and I were talking, and I'm like, I think we're good on going through a guided setup like this. I think the next time we go on a trip, on an international trip, let's plan it ourselves. I think we're good enough to do that now. And now we're going on another essentially guided trip. But I do understand the convenience of not having to worry about transportation, especially. And again, just getting around the city, getting to all the big highlights of what Korea has to offer. But I think also, I think in the back of my mind, I'm worried I'm not going to be able to set aside some of the things that I'm already thinking about in terms of how it's adoption related and how it's like you're putting on your prettiest face, your happiest face for us because you're trying to make up for X amount of history of turning your faces away, essentially. Yeah. And so I worry about that for me a little bit. I'm glad Emily's going. I do think that's going to be a good grounder for me. She will be.
Absolutely.
And I know a few other people who got accepted into the trip who are also going. I won't name them here, so I don't know if they're announcing that publicly or what that's like, so I won't name drop. But it's nice to know that I'll know a few other people as well. But I am very curious to meet other Korean adoptees from across the globe. I think that is something I'm really looking forward to as part of the trip. And again, as we talked about before we got on air about the show being a connector, being able to utilize the show in that way, maybe to further connect and meet other people. And especially not to be like, hey, not to be Nathan coming back from con, be like, I got a whole list of people, but just to be like, because of the show, I know how to kind of articulate my own story, and I know a little bit more of how to ask questions that aren't going to be super harmful to somebody who's trying to share, as opposed to going 4 years ago and being like saying all that harmful stuff. So I'm excited about being able to meet other adoptees from across the world with that perspective, with that newfound perspective that I've had through the show.
And they may have heard of you. They're like, oh, wait, you're the Patrick in the world?
Don't boost my ego too much.
Get those stickers
every
ready.
One of them will be like, who?
Yeah.
I know.
Who? I'm freaking at Patrick in the world. Okay, I have like
Star-Lord,
tens of followers.
Tens of followers. I do have tens. Multiples of tens.
Tens.
But yeah, I'm excited. Awesome. I am excited about the trip, and
yeah. Hey, I'm a little jealous. It would be a really cool trip to go on. So, congrats! Glad you got in.
Thanks. High five.
And thanks, Jerry.
We did it. That was through the screen.
We did it.
My screen is just snapped in half now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have other. You said you have some other trips. What about you, KJ?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I just talked a bunch, so I don't know if I have a ton of other stuff coming up, but I was like, what do you guys got coming up?
We don't care so much about your personal life. We just care that you're going back to Korea.
I mean,
that's true. So. Very relevant to the show.
Yeah.
How was your 4th of July? I mean, we can talk about that.
We like
to see any fireworks?
Celebrated. No,
yeah.
I had them. Yep. Sarah and I were like just not feeling very patriotic.
Yeah.
And so we went over to my sister's house and hung out in her pool.
Sounds nice.
That's it. That's all we did.
Emily and I just sat inside and did nothing essentially. So we were in Chicago on the 2nd for a Cubs game, and then we came home the next day. And I got to see my grandma, so that was nice. But then we came home and we just didn't do anything. Again, didn't feel, not necessarily not feeling patriotic. I don't know the last time I felt patriotic. But
it's been a long time.
It was more just like celebrate. I don't know. It's just that, I'm kind of over it, honestly. Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't really. I wouldn't say I'm a huge 4th of July party goer, looking for an event kind of thing. Anyway, I think for me though, I was always just loving the barbecues and just gathering with people, or and we didn't have that chance this time. But we did go down to this one thing that was kind of interesting, was a drone show instead of fireworks.
Oh yeah,
and something that I've always wanted to see. Yeah, I've always wanted to see that in person. So we went down to Parker, Colorado, and they had 150 drones up in the air, which actually almost got canceled because it was raining. But but right as we were leaving and packing up the car, they decided to go ahead and do it. And so we got to watch it, and it was pretty cool to see. They did a really good job. It was just to hear, I hear one drone go up sounds like a mosquito. To hear 150 of them go up, it's like a swarm. It's like
drones are wild.
Yeah, they really are. It's pretty fascinating to see how they can coordinate like that. But yeah, that was pretty much, it was just us. Late day. Now one of my kids is playing ukulele outside the door.
I can hear that.
Oh, nice. Okay. I was like, what is that? Didn't know if it was a robot or what. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to ask you just like a random question about going to Korea, Patrick. Not to
ask
like just
away.
totally jump back to that, but what food or drink item are you most excited to try while in our native country?
I have a great answer for this.
Ooh,
okay.
So I've been talking about this a little bit more recently, but I want to find a roasted chestnut and try it.
on the streets.
I swear, I want to go to a street vendor, find roasted chestnut, and try it, because I'm not gonna lie.
Redeem yourself.
I've been hung up on just how disparaging
how bad
I
that
was.
was.
How bad it was. I did not like it, but just the way that I talked about it, I felt bad for a while. And so I'm like, I have this opportunity to go to Korea now, and I've been telling people, I'm like, I need to try this roasted chestnut, because when I talk to people about the show, because I started a new job recently, they've been asking me. And when I tell them we do food, they ask me, what's the worst thing? That's usually a question that people ask. What's the worst thing? And maybe there's a tint of racism there. I don't know. But I always say the roasted chestnut, because it was not hard. It was not crunchy. It was soft. It was wet. It was cold. It was not
mealy.
My favorite thing. And so, but I've been really wanting to not redeem the roasted chestnut, but redeem myself.
That's really funny.
for having disparaged it so mightily in the episode that we did it. So I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to just really perusing the streets, the street vendors, getting to an actual night market. Yeah, let me get some socks. Getting to an actual night market and being able to be in that environment. Food wise, pretty much everything. I don't know if I have just a one thing I want to try, like a specific thing that stands out to me. And maybe that's because I don't eat Korean food often enough. Like, I think there's a huge disconnect from me eating Korean food here in Indiana, because there's like two places, and I don't frequent those places. And then when I go to like LA or New York, which I guess I've only done one time, but just only eating Korean food and doing that. And I think it's like when I come back to Indiana, it just almost feels like, I don't know, there's just a disconnect for me from here, and I need to bridge that. I need to overcome that and frequent those establishments a little bit more, because they do have good food. But I think because of that, I have not developed in my mind or even in my taste buds, my palates, a favorite Korean dish. So I just want to try everything. Honestly, sure. I'm ready to dive right in.
And I'm sure they have things that they don't have here, or that's completely different,
like
than
corn
it's here.
Or cheese.
Yeah, cheese corn. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I wanted corn cheese for sure.
I just meant corn and cheese and like random things. They'd be like,
okay. Gotcha,
corn bulgogi. And you're like, why are you doing this to my bulgogi?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for things and I didn't see them. So, but my family was taking me, I realized, mainly to seafood places. So I had a lot of seafood, specifically.
Is your family from like near the coast or something?
No, that's where they thought
just big fans of seafood, huh?
Time for bonding, and I don't know. I honestly have no clue, but that was what they're known for out there in the East Coast, was the seafood.
Okay, let me ask you this: what was the best dish you had, or that you remember having
seafood
on that?
Yes, so if you can find it, I don't know if it's everywhere, if it was only on the East Coast of Korea, but it was squid, and then in the inside of squid was kind of like a egg, rice, meat mixture and veggies. So you might have seen it before. I don't know what they're called, but I've seen them online. People have made them with onions. They make a big onion ring, and then they fill the onion ring with this egg vegetable mixture. But they made it there with squid, so it was like big squid ring, and it was really good. I know we had our discussion of octopus and things last time. So at first I didn't think I was going to like it, but I thought that was the best thing I had that was there. And
Is it fried squid?
Yeah, they fry it on a pan.
Okay,
so
perfect. As long as they fry it up, I think I'll be okay.
It was nice and fried on a pan, and then it was like eating like a mini, I want to say like a mini squid omelet, honestly, but like a little small one.
The way you described it sounded really enticing to me. So
yeah, no, it's really good. So I wish I could tell you what it's called. But
I was just about to ask you, Mike. Do you know what it's actually called? Because I don't know if I go squid with egg, rice, meat mixture in the middle, so they will know.
And I could be wrong with what all the other ingredients in it, but I did have, it was just kind of funny. You know how I think we've talked about hotoks before on the show. You know how we made the cheese one. Pancake. So if you find one of those, the fresh one with the brown sugar and everything in it, yeah, you'll definitely get that. So
nice.
That's a great like street vendor food.
Yeah, street thing. And of course the corn dogs if you find any of the potato corn dogs, but those are you can get those here.
I'm just gonna be pounding bottles of soju.
Yeah,
they're gonna be like, "Who is this person?" And then it'll because I'm laying in the middle of the street at 8 a.m, passed out. No, who is this person?
Oh, I learned another, not to jump on a non sequitur of soju, but I learned another trick. You know how we were playing that drinking game with the flicking? Yeah. So then there's a second part to that game that if you look at the bottom of the cap, there's a number. And so if you were the one to flick it off, everyone gets a round to guess what that number is. And it's anywhere between 1 and 50. And so everyone has to guess, and if somebody guesses, and you get to tell them higher or lower so that the next person knows which direction to go. But if they guess it, then you have to drink instead of everybody else.
That's awesome. I love that part of the game.
It actually happened when I was at con. Somebody guessed the number and it reversed. So instead of everyone else having to drink. So
I went down a rabbit hole trying to find that dish, and I don't know. I know like how to say all of the component parts, but I have no idea what the dish would be called. So
we'll have to ask Jerry.
Korean failed me. Okay, so other thing, is there a part of like culture that you feel either really confident about or really like nervous to get wrong about, having gone through like some of the Korean culture dictionary and like expecting like I don't know, like card like selling things or giving things, or like eating or drinking culture or anything like that, like with maybe some like native Koreans? I don't know how much you'll like be dealing with like native Koreans in terms of like a meal setting, but is there any bit of like that kind of thing that you're worried about?
So a little bit worried about like the bowing, like in the respect part of it. I feel like I'm good about showing respect to my elders, but I realize that you do that differently in different ways. And so I'm a little bit worried about that. I feel like you said, I don't know how many native Koreans will really be interacting with, and knowing I'll be in a group of upwards of 300 people from all different parts of the globe is nice to know, because I'll be able to I can fall back into that. But also I was in Greece, I want to lean into being able to use as much of the language as I can. And
you want to lean into your Koreanness. Just like in Greece, you want to lean into your Grecianness.
So I'm excited about that. Trying to use, but also very nervous too, and worried about language usage. Getting things wrong and being ostracized for that. I think one of the things that's tainting that for me is the horror stories that I've heard from other Korean adoptees who go back to Korea and are just, it's just it's not good. It's not a good experience. And so I've been very fortunate and privileged to not have run into that so far here very often. I will say, I won't say never, but very often. But I think when I'm there, and those are the only people I'll be interacting with, and I'm trying to do it as respectfully as possible and as accurately as possible. I do have a little bit of that nervousness about, okay, you failed and now everybody hates you. Like in Into the Spider-Verse, where after he's ripped off Gwen Stacy's hair with his sticky hands, he's like walking through the hall. He's like, nobody knows. And then he goes, just everyone knows. And that's what I think. That's what I picture in my head. Like, I get it wrong, and I'm walking through trying to not feel shame, and then just there comes a point where it's ultimate shame. So
All
I'll
the
get over it.
Spanish-speaking Korean adoptees would be like, "Hombre, ¿qué pasó?"
And I'll be
And
like,
you'd be like, "Oh."
I don't know.
I'm like, "I'm so sorry, I don't speak your language either."
Yeah, right. Monolingual.
Yeah.
Listen to
That's
episode
funny.
92.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, like, I get it because I wonder too, because I've obviously heard that anecdotally where Koreans have tried, adoptees have tried using the language or whatever, and Koreans just been like, "What are you doing?" But I wonder if that's because like they were in small groups, or like not in a big old pack of adoptees.
Sure.
Like one of the things that we've talked about on the show occasionally is like there's not really like a marker for you being an adoptee. Unless you're in a gaggle of adoptees, in which case they're like, oh, there's a group of Koreans who do not look like they're from anywhere related to us, except that they look Korean. You know what I mean? Like on some level, I feel like they might as well just be like Chinese or Japanese or whatever. So I wonder if like because you'll be in a group that it'll be more obvious that you're adopted, and they'll be more like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, we appreciate you trying, as opposed to like if it was just you on your own. Like then you might experience some of that. But also, like, I don't know, personally, even though it would suck to go through, obviously, like I know that that's really common for second gen Asian Americans going back to their homeland and that kind of thing. So like, and that kind of thing is one of those ties that binds us to the broader Asian diaspora, So it's like, I mean, silver lining to an unfortunately like kind of overall negative situation. But yeah, I get that. I always get tripped up about like giving things and receiving things with two hands. That's the thing. I'm like,
that goes into the bowing part. I think that was part of the bowing part for me because when the lady who cuts my hair, I'm like, I always when I go to hand her my credit card, I'm like, and then I just go with one hand. I'm like, here's one.
He's fumbling with it. He throws it up in the air.
I'm like left over right. I can't remember, and then I'm just like looking like a fool. So one thing I did just think of that I hadn't thought about until you asked me, like the things that I'm excited for or looking forward to, and I'm wondering, I haven't even talked to Emily about this, is if I could set up like a small kind of more Korean traditional, just like ceremony wedding, but not like official, and just like to go through that motion in Korea with her. I don't know. I don't know if that's something possible.
Pick her up and carry her around the room.
Is that what you have to do? I don't remember.
Yes,
I remember when Dan
actually on your back.
Yeah, traditionally that is a thing.
I'm trying to think because I remember when Dan was on. He told us about going to a Korean wedding. I think, or somebody did.
Yeah,
I thought it was Dan.
Well, I've told you a bunch of the ones that I've been to and photographed, but yeah.
Well, and I just wanted to.
Why don't you listen to me?
I honestly would just want it to be very small. Maybe this goes against the tradition, but just like a small. Just to, I don't know. I'm just thinking about this, like to go through that. What feels like essentially renewing your vows, essentially would be like to just go through that with her in Korea. I don't know. Something very powerful to me is right now bubbling up inside of me thinking about that.
Cool.
So I don't know. I think I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, yeah. You have some relatives throw some dates and chestnuts at you. There's where you can get your chestnuts.
Be like,
you can also eat a bunch.
Get this out of here!
Eat a bunch of rice cakes and sit on a mat. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know.
You made it sound so unfun.
You get a bunch of food thrown at you and you sit on a mat. I don't know.
As far as the ceremony part, that's the part that I remember seeing. And,
so funny.
And then the joke of carrying her around the room on your back. But
I'll freaking carry my wife around the room 10 times.
Do it. So
I will.
Seems a little extreme.
It seems like a little bit much.
But then I think that'd be neat. Or just even the fact of, they might actually, do you think they'll have like humbooks for you guys to try on even for?
I mean, I was going to say you should buy your own humbug.
Or buy one.
Oh, yeah. That's something I think I'm going to look into for sure.
Okay.
So socks and a humbug.
Yep.
Socks and a humbug. Remember when I used to not be able to say humbug?
Socks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like
at the last show, the last slide, I say it like different every single time.
Well, we're a year on, and you mastered one
word. That's true. Growth.
Hey, there you go.
Growth.
I'll take any growth, no matter how slow or small.
Exactly.
So that's cool.
Exactly.
So totally something random, just because we're not doing food, but I've been watching For All Mankind on Apple TV. Do either of you watch it?
I
I've
don't
heard
think
about it.
so.
I
Okay,
haven't seen
so the premise is it's like an alternate history where Russia beats us to the moon, and so like kind of like the butterfly effect of what that would change and all those kinds of things. It's really really good, really well done, really compelling if you're into that kind of stuff. But in the spoiler alert, kind of in the second season, a couple has an adopted child, and the writing on the show, I mean, the acting is also like right there with the writing. It's just out of this world, no pun intended. It's so good. And so this girl is adopted from Vietnam, and she is applying to go into college, and so she like starts her essay and she's like, who am I? And so she asks her parents like, why did you adopt me? And they begin to tell her the mythology of her adoption story. But she was like, no, but why did you choose to adopt? Right. Not just why did you adopt me specifically, but why did you choose to adopt? And it was like, and I turned to Sarah, I was like, I'm literally watching her come out of the fog in this moment. And it's something I've never, ever seen on TV. And I just thought it was so compelling. And it's really wonderfully written and filmed in a way that you see it from the parents' perspective, but you also see it from her perspective. And so it was like I think, a really balanced take on what that family dynamic could feel like and how, like, what that individual dynamic feels like. Like, it's just shot so well and those kinds of things. I don't know. I wanted to throw that out there just as like if listeners, if you have seen For All Mankind, it's in the second season, like later. I just think that that's so compelling, and just the way they do it is really, really interesting. And like, on the one hand, it's like kind of a plot device, but the way that I feel like the writers and the director like honor this adoption story in like the what it means for her so far. Anyways, I feel like is more than just a plot point. I really want to see if it's like if there was an adoptee on the writing staff or anything. But yeah, I just thought it was really
Well,
really
that's what I would
compelling.
want to know, because that question is not something that a non-adopted person would ask. Like,
Yeah.
why did you adopt me? Yes. But why did you choose to adopt? No. Like,
Well, I mean,
that's
it's kind of
deeper
implied
level.
because of some like extra family stuff that like but she whatever. Like I said, I'm trying not to do like spoilers. But
I
there's
was
like
going to
some
say, I was
extra,
going to be interested in what the response was, but if that's
there's
a
some
spoiler.
extra drama around like why we the viewers can assume they adopted that
Sure.
the child is aware of, right? So like it's a similar thing of like, like, oh, we couldn't have kids, or like where like the adoptee is aware of like some other hindrance, or like maybe even the same question of like, I have siblings who are my parents' biological children, why did you? So it's like it's that kind of questioning. But like I said, just the way that they did that storyline, the way that it was acted, the way it was shot and written, I was like, this is so compelling from an adoptee perspective. And I was just really excited about that because like there are so many stories about adoption, so many actors or writers or whomever, people who are adopted for whom adoption is not like a primary identity. And yet in this scene I was like, oh, somebody either like this is just fantastic writing and just like serendipitous that we get to see it this way, or like there was an adoptee, like that this is like just done in a way that I found so compelling. So yeah, I don't know, it was really good and would recommend watching.
Making me want to watch the show, though.
I know,
It's a fantastic show.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I think it's interesting because I feel like I've been for a while now really avoiding things either audio based or like a movie or a show that is anything that I know to be adoption related. I feel like I've just, even after watching Colin in Black and White, I think that was like really the last thing I actively sought, outside of like documentaries and interviews and stuff like that. From like a fictional media standpoint, I think it's been really hard for me to sit and watch because I feel like I just see it get or done incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that, and again, I'm only 2 years into this journey. I think it was last June. I didn't even write about it. I got to go back and write about that. But I don't know. It's been I didn't even think about it until you said that. And I'm like, oh, I want to watch the show now. And I think one of the things that I probably was avoiding it because of was there was that plot line going on, and just thinking and biasing in my own mind against the show because I'm like, they're going to get this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to give them a chance is what I'm trying to say.
That's funny because I really feel like, one of the things that we're talking about in this current season that we find ourselves in as a show and as people is like, how do we continue the conversation, and what does it look like for us to grow into our identities as adoptees? And I really feel like we've all kind of flip-flopped, and I've loved seeing how that's changed, where like Patrick, you were like super into the adoptee community and like just all, doing lots of things and like taking in all this content that you could and whatever. And now you're like, no, I don't know. I'm like kind of cooled off on that. And I'm doing other things, and I'm like still wrestling with that, but there's like this broader context or whatever. And then Nathan, you were like, yeah, I don't know. Like, this is fun. I'm mostly here for the food. Now, even you were like, oh no, actually like the connections and like getting involved with the adoptees and like meeting people and do like seeing that growth and progression. For me, I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do much with the adoptee community, like how to do the show, but like it just sounds like exhausting, whatever. And now I'm taking in all this media, which sometimes I'm not looking for it, but like I even just started listening to Surviving the White Gaze by Rebecca Carroll, which is a transracial domestic adoption memoir.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh yeah, this is like, I don't know. So it's just been interesting to me to see us all flip flop, and I'm really excited for what the next 100 episodes. I know we're not technically at 100, but I'm excited for what the next 100 episodes mean for us as a show, and how we get to continue to explore our identities and explore and articulate this journey, so that hopefully it's a little bit easier for other adoptees, for allies who don't really understand but who want to understand, find some common ground and begin to communicate more effectively about what this is and what it means for us to be alive today in America or beyond.
I agree.
Yes.
Well said. Well said.
Sorry, that was a long soliloquy, but also I was like, it's 6:30. We got to wrap up the show.
That was great. No, that was great. Are we doing a food?
No, I don't know where my food
he
is.
doesn't even know his first food's
You don't
there.
have the time, so it's fine.
That's fine. I said I could squeeze out another, now 8 minutes, 7 minutes. Okay, so I guess if we're not doing a food, then I guess we can cut all this out. And wrap it up.
We're keeping it in.
KJ's
You keep my
incredible
flubbers
soliloquy.
in. Keep yours in.
I thought KJ beautifully tied it all together. Everything that we talked about and everything that we're going to be talking about moving forward. So, I guess that's it for this week. As always, I appreciate sitting here with you both and having these conversations, and especially the conversations we don't have on the air. I think those are the conversations where we find the most growth, and then people get to view the growth that we make in the episodes we release. So if you want to continue seeing those off-air conversations, well, maybe not seeing those conversations, but other ones, you can follow us at Janchi Show on all the social media platforms. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can, 1, send us an email to janchishow@justlikemedia.com, and or 2, leave us a voicemail at 972-677-8867.
And or 3, join our after party on Facebook.
Oh, I don't think that we've promoted that in months.
I know. It's been a little slow in there. It's kind of been,
Yeah, but you dropped like the kimchi making episode thing in there. So
sure, I did put in the kimchi episode.
If
If any of you have not seen that, there is the video on YouTube and in there. But honestly, I will interact if you interact. So,
Oh,
I'm
that's
there.
funny.
Yeah, we're not giving anything extra. But head to janchishow.com/support to find out how you can support the show. Like I said, we are talking broadly about a live show. We don't even have like an email newsletter, so you can like at some point maybe we'll even have like a wait list for you to join. But we're not that organized, so definitely give us a follow on our social media platforms if you want to know even the slightest hint about something that's going on. Yeah, you can find me at KJ Relke online wherever I want to be found on the internet.
You can find me at Patrick in the World on Instagram and on my regular name on LinkedIn.
You can find me at nnowalk on Instagram.
Also the Asian one, but that's different.
Also the Asian one.
We're all the Asian ones.
I'm pretty active over there now,
Asian
so that's why
ones.
I'm promoting it here.
I
I
do not live in Wisconsin or Michigan. I think that's where the other ones are.
Solid.
Cool. Well, hopefully next week we can do a food.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I hope.
We'll see.
I'll try to
If not, I'm
unpack
gonna cook
better.
something. And
We'll get
eat it by
an
myself.
update on KJ and Sarah's move. We'll have an update on the movement within the Janchi Show after party, and we'll go from there.
Maybe we'll have
Maybe
some
a
other
guest.
updates.
I
Yeah,
don't
it'll just
have
be
any
a
updates.
Facebook notification that we read that says some people posted activity detected. Okay, Ring camera.
You've dropped below the allowed number of followers to be a group.
Yikes.
All
And
right.
on that note, we will see you next week.
Until then, Janchi, hey yo.
Janchi, hey yo.
Oh, I accidentally deleted that.
Oh my gosh.